Hi guys. So, I've not been in labor for the last 11 days. Sorry to leave you hanging. It's just life with a newborn is kind of hectic. Believe it or not, newborn plus 4 others. But labor was successful. And here is the newest. Oh, hi, buddy. He was a big surprise because we don't find out gender. We like it to be a surprise, but I've guessed right with... He's not very happy about being dragged around. Ooh, and I think we need a diaper change. Oh, you're okay. So, yeah, we don't find out gender because we like the surprise, but I've guessed right with every baby. So I was like 98% sure that he was a girl. Surprise! Not a girl. So that was exciting because I've never been wrong before, so it's never really felt like a surprise. So this actually felt like a surprise. And I'm using terrible camera again because, okay, so I know where my camera is. It's right over there. But my toddler jammed a camera card into my computer in like the 5 minutes that I left it unattended. And like destroyed the card, which was bad enough because I had stuff on there that I needed. But also, apparently, destroyed the card reader because now it won't read any card. So that's fun. So for now, yes, we're back to crummy camera. Sorry about that. So yeah, I woke up like early. It was like an hour after his due date. So less than an hour after his due date had officially ended because his due date was Valentine's Day. So yeah, I woke up less than an hour after his due date had officially ended and was like, oh, that was a real contraction. So I timed contractions for like hour and a half in bed. And at one point my husband was really restless, so I was like, are you awake? And he was like, yeah. I was like, okay, because I think we're going to need to make some decisions sooner rather than later about like our plans. Because, we still had all of the other kids at home. So we had this whole conversation about how, because his mom was supposed to take them. So I was like, well, it doesn't make sense for her to come and get them in the middle of the night. So, we'll call her at like 5 or 6. She can come get them then because none of the kids are going to be awake before 6 anyway. So we had this whole conversation, and then he went back to sleep. And I timed contractions for a little bit longer, and then I texted my midwife. I was like, I'm so sorry, it's the middle of the night. I felt bad about that, but I also felt like it was time. Like, for those of you who weren't around for my 4th baby, the midwife did not make it in time because it was a really erratic labor, and by the time I realized that it was time to have the baby, it was time to have the baby, and he was born 15 minutes after that. So I wanted to be sure this time that the midwives actually made it to our house. So I texted her. It's like 2:30 in the morning. I'm like, I'm so sorry, but I'm pretty sure it's time. Like, the baby is coming sooner rather than later. So then I went out to the living room, and we still didn't have the birthing pool set up, of course. So I worked on doing that, but mostly I just cleaned up a couple things and swept for 30 seconds, and then played on my computer to distract myself. And that's when I made the video that you guys saw. And the midwives showed up right at the end of that video. And the birthing pool still wasn't set up. Nowhere close to set up. It was still in its container. So I was like, I guess I probably should wake my husband up at this point. I let him sleep because when he's sleep deprived, he's really no good to me. But in talking about it afterward, he was like, well, yeah, I would have rather preferred to have been woken up when labor started. So we apparently just didn't communicate very well about our expectations for labor and delivery. So yeah, he woke up when the midwives got to the house, which was kind of a shock for him because apparently he didn't remember the conversation we had at 2 in the morning either. So I guess he didn't even know that I was in labor. And all he knows is he wakes up at 4 in the morning and the midwives are already at the house. So yeah, we apparently need to work on that whole communication thing. It's a problem with us. So yeah, that was like 4 in the morning. So like for the next half hour, I was like standing and kind of doing rocking back and forth. The next half hour after that, I was like on my knees doing rocking back and forth. And then after that, it was time to get in the birthing pool, which had been set up and was more full than the last birth, but still was nowhere near. It was like a quarter of the way full, and it's supposed to be like 3/4 of the way full. We're not very good planners. And here, like, I was sure that, like, in my head, we were way prepared for this baby. Like, the freezer was full of meals. I had actually gotten the whole house cleaned up and kept it clean. We had all of, like, our plans for who was going to take the kids and, like, backup plans if the primary plan didn't work. We had all of that figured out. But this pool, I tell you what, was nowhere close to set up. We didn't have a hose for it. Again, that's what happened last time. We failed to get, like, the hose so that it could just run from the sink into the pool. So my husband was left having to cart water back and forth again. Oh, guys, we're just not so good about this water birth thing. That's the problem right there. So, yeah, it was like 5 o'clock, and I was like, it's time to get in the pool. And he was born about half an hour after that. So the midwives got to the house about an hour and a half before he was born. So none too soon. And notes for the future, I need to wake up my husband when I first go into labor. And now I know. If we have a 6th child. So, that's the story. Okay, so labor is very physically taxing, obviously. But it's also emotionally and mentally exhausting too, or it can be. So I was really interested in seeing if maybe I would have enough going on that I wouldn't tick. But I did tick, actually. It was more kind of like little bursts in between contractions, and not in between every contraction. Like, overall, my ticks are getting a lot better, which is great. Yay, I'm a fan of that. Recovery's gone pretty well. I can't complain. I've actually tried really hard with this recovery to really like pace myself and not overdo it. So recovery has gone pretty well as a result, I think, of that. Yeah, so I have no complaints at this time. And that's pretty much the whole story. And I just now realized that the space heater is running, so it's probably going to be really annoying in the background for this whole video, and I might have to redo it, which is going to be super frustrating. But my children are trying to break down my door because I promised them we would go to the library, so I need to finish. So before I go, one more goodbye from Mr. Chubby Cheeks. That's what everyone asks. Their first statement is, his cheeks. And their question is, how much did he weigh? And he was only 8 pounds 4 ounces. He was not my biggest baby, but his cheeks make him look like it. Swooshy cheeks. Alright, guys. We'll talk to you later. Say bye. Bye. I don't want to be awake. I feel you, bud.